I went from thinking that the future was bright to, oh my God, what happens now? Total devastation.
In June 2022, Jo O'Brien made a call she'll never forget.
And I do have sort of suspicions that this may be a scam.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Why?
Very sorry. Is there a family member that you could speak to? Or someone or a friend that you can talk to in the meantime just to let them know what's happened?
Her bank told her that her divorce settlement had been stolen.
The deposit that I'd made, $500,000, had been deposited into a suspected fraudulent account. I really felt like I was going to drive off the side of the road.
Jo was tricked by scammers after putting her details into a fake comparison website when she was looking for a safe investment account.
They impersonated AMP employees. They would put you onto different departments and you had to fill out different forms.
Before paying, Jo O'Brien made this call to increase her daily transfer limit to $100,000.
I'm going to have to read you out this disclaimer. It's quite a long one, but it's a good idea. Because a lot of people are changing it to pay scammers and things like that. I mean, some of this won't apply to you, but I have to read it.
Jo O'Brien and other victims paid more than $1.3 million into a company bank account with NAB. She was told by scammers the account had been set up in her name.
As soon as I'd heard that I'd lost my money,
The day after being told it was a scam, Jo rushed to warn staff at this branch in Melbourne's CBD.
The account was not in my name. It was in the name of some security company. He said, I can see that over the last few weeks, millions of dollars have come in and out and the money's gone straight overseas.
She alleges the bank was too slow to act and money continued to leave the account.
Another $275,000 had come in and out of that same account, so it wasn't shut down immediately at all.
It can take some time to understand exactly where that money has come from, how much of it is legitimate money and how much of it is illegal.
But were there transactions that occurred after she made that warning, even if they were only done in 24 or 48 hours?
Yeah, it's possible there were, but the reality is when an account is established legitimately and behaves legitimately up until the point that it's no longer behaving legitimately, I'm not aware of any control that can identify that.
The company behind the bank account is called Supercheap Security and was set up by Hassan Mehdi, a Pakistani man in his 30s. It was registered at this home on Melbourne's outskirts. Mehdi told 730 the company did sell some equipment, but its website is no longer online.
There's no evidence that there was ever a legitimate business. It appears that it was simply a shell company open for the purposes of creating a bank account.
Hassan Mehdi was arrested here at Melbourne International Airport in November 2022 trying to leave the country. Victoria Police charged him with 8 counts of obtaining property by deception, but those charges were later dropped. Mehdi claims he's innocent and that he sold his company to a friend who was allegedly in charge when the money was shifted offshore.
Hello, can you hear me?
Do you accept you've broken Australian law?
Yeah, I do. I made mistake. It wasn't intentional.
This man says he's Muhammad Ali Waheed, the friend who took over Supercheap Security. He denies being involved in the scam and has agreed to an interview only if his identity can be concealed. Mr. Waheed, if you have nothing to hide, why can't we see your face?
The thing is, when you use that word scam or the word like you are involved in any other way, it's very hard in the society to survive, you know? Can you hear me now?
After the interview, he showed 730 his face and sent a copy of a Victorian driver's licence. Mr Wahid says he was tricked by an acquaintance in Dubai who lied to him about using the company for legitimate business, but instead shifted stolen funds.
I was the one who was giving him all the credentials, all the account details, and he has a guy in Sydney who was operating that time the account.
Did you benefit from the stolen money?
He paid me $5,000 for the first time, and then after maybe 2 weeks, he gave me another $8,000.
Mr Wahid, why won't you come back to Australia and face the music for what you've done?
I don't want to put myself in trouble. I am willing to compensate the plaintiffs, but I won't be able to compensate the whole amount. I'll pay them $500,000.
These message screenshots provided by Mr Wahid appear to show login details of the NAB account being shared with a man named Usman in April 2022.
Accounts has been applied as I have sent you login for NAB. The remaining process is from the bank.
Need to start some work. If all goes good, then we have more, but we need speedy things.
Mr Wahid has denied the messages show he had access to the bank account before buying the business in mid-May. 730 could not independently verify Mr Wahid's claims. Joe O'Brien is suing Hassan Mehdi and Supercheap Security, alleging it's a sham company used to commit fraud.
Our argument is that now either the company and Mr Mehdi are liable to pay that money.
We are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. There is significant fraud that may be going unreported or undetected. I think it's probably fair to say that the vast majority of investment scams would involve a company.
In his legal defence, Hassan Mehdi claims he sold the company in May 2022, just days before stolen money began moving in and out of the account. But the ownership change was only lodged with the corporate regulator 3 months later in August, after victims went to police. Mr Wahid says he's to blame for the delay. What do you say to the allegation that because you're based overseas, that this story's been fabricated in order to try and absolve Hassan Mehdi of any responsibility?
I think Hassan already had enough proofs to get himself out of this, because I sent him the contract that I signed. Then he sent me the resignation as well.
Mr Mehdi. Hassan Mehdi declined 730's interview request. Hello, Mr Mehdi. Michael Atkin here from the ABC. Where did the money go that Joe O'Brien and the other victims paid to Supercheap Security? Where did the money go after it was paid to your company, Mr Mehdi? Victoria Police told 730 criminal charges against Hassan Mehdi were dropped on legal advice. Over the phone, he insisted that Mr Wahid was in control of the company from May.
He was in charge of everything doing it. If I would have done it, I would have not been here, mate. I would have not been here.
The allegation is that Supercheap Security is a sham company. Is it a sham company?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Well, actually, let me talk to my lawyer and then I'll get back to you, or ring me later.
Having worked in fraud investigations as a police officer, these cases take a long time. They take a lot of resources. Most of those fraud cases really only become successful if you have somebody telling you what they did and why they did it.
Neil Jeans has investigated money laundering for law enforcement and global financial institutions. He believes the company system is open to widespread abuse, and regulators and banks should be doing far more to address it.
Both ASIC and the financial services industry could potentially do more in that space. From an ASIC perspective, it's all around due diligence about the establishment of these companies and the ongoing existence of these companies. And from a financial services perspective, from a bank perspective, it's about them understanding the use of the company, the financial transactions that they are seeing on behalf of that company, and whether they stack up to what they know and expect about the company, and reacting pretty quickly if they don't.
Joe O'Brien wants the corporate watchdog to investigate possible breaches of the law. ASIC says it will review any evidence that shows false information has been provided, but for now, Supercheap Security remains registered.
I just can't understand how people can register companies with ASIC in Australia and be involved in this sort of activity with no consequences.
Come on, Cleo. You can find statements related to that story on our website.